Hey, Tom here, FlipAnything USA. So look, keep your powder dry. You know, that is not a term that rolls off my tongue. It's just not one that I use, but man, it is one that I've heard a lot lately, and I'm glad I do. I actually take time to look it up, make sure I understood exactly what it meant. But basically, I mean, I knew that it went back to the Civil War and keep your gunpowder dry. And you can imagine the trouble you'd be in, right? If you had wet gunpowder and you can't attack, you can't defend, you can't fend for yourself. So it is a great term, and it's one that's appropriate for what we're going into. We're going into a recession, folks. Don't think for a second we're not. The bullshitters out there that are telling you that it's not going to happen, or that it's going to be a soft landing. These are people trying to cover their own ass and pass their problems on to others by acting like things are not as big a deal as they are. This is a big deal what we're going into, and it is, and it's going to be fantastic. You just, like you say, keep your powder dry. I looked it up, and in general, it just means be careful, stay alert. Great advice, right? Instead of take care. So right now, with the interest climbing, you're going to see another bump. It's definitely going to go up again. I can't imagine it not, to be honest. I think it's going to continue to go up all year. And those of you and most of you, a lot of people back in the 80s, they were just unaware that that the rates were ever as high as they were, because maybe they didn't buy anything for a long time. But in the 80s, the rates were much higher than they are now. And I started my first official bank loan from a bank was 9.25% or 9 1/8. I put in $150,000 in the bank. I was making a lot of money back then. I was probably 25 at that time when I got that first bank loan. But I had done all kinds of owner finance loans, and the loans that I was doing back then, they were 10% interest. I carried notes for hundreds of thousands of dollars back then, and I also paid on hundreds of thousands of dollars in notes, and 10%, that was the going rate, and it was fine, because everything that we were buying was based on that. Here's what gets the investors, and what's really, really going to separate the men from the boys, I'm telling you right now, is those guys that screwed up, created these funds, bought real estate, or even worse, got other people involved in deals where they anticipated they were going to bump the values up, or raise the prices and resell them for more. They got low interest rates. The people that are going to buy them out have high interest rates. Those people can't afford to pay what they paid for it. So I guarantee it, tons of people are upside down right now on their investment properties. Those that intended to sell, all of a sudden they're hodlers, right? Hodlin, which to me is a nice way of saying I screwed up and now I got to hold. And that is going on. But I'm telling you, I'm really excited right now. A lot of good things going. I've actually been shooting a lot of video, but I haven't had time to share it. I haven't had time to edit. I haven't had time to play with it. But I've got 3 houses I'm finishing up painting. You're going to see some videos on that. Exterior, interior, changing out all the light switches and fixtures. And I'm being careful. I'm not going too far, doing the minimum on some, but not so much that it'll penalize me in one way or another, whether I sell it or whether I just rent it. And some of these I'm gonna hold for a little while. I like them. They're good properties. I'm gonna probably sell them to my kids as they grow into. It's a neighborhood I want them in. To be honest, it's a neighborhood that I want them in, and. Also, you guys, that I've got some people that I'm excited about coming into the mentorship. I've actually talked to several people. Ray, Ben, who else? There's a couple others that guys that I'm truly excited about coming into the mentorship. And I don't know why, but I haven't seen him jump in yet. There's going to, but I haven't seen him yet. Don't wait anymore, guys. You're gonna love it. I had a Mike Stizza. Mike's a guy that just got into the mentorship. Did a nice interview of him the other day. Also Rich again, but Mike was interesting. He bought 3 houses for $36,000, and I'm just working on his interview as well. He also just sent me another image of him with a nice big fat check on another deal that he's flipped. So, and again, listen, some of the best guys that come in are people that come in with no experience, and then some of the other guys are guys that they've been in real estate, they've been immersed in it for a while, but they didn't have somebody that have their back, somebody that could reaffirm that, hey, that's a good deal, or confirm their suspicions that, oh no, this isn't a good deal. That is what really helps more than anything. A true mentorship, when you have somebody that really has been there, done that, it makes all the difference in the world, folks. Otherwise, you don't know what you don't know, and that means you could be leaving money on the table, or you could be throwing money out, or paying too much, even worse. Chris originally started out in the mentorship. He was actually a gold member of the first round of mentees. He is coming to join me and come to work for me and help me take care of business in the studio. So you'll be seeing a lot more of Chris. Chris also is another success story. Chris, he's actually the first person to recognize me from YouTube out and about in a Home Depot. And Chris, since then, has turned several properties, and he's actually been able to quit his job and stay at home and become more of a full-time investor. Also with that, he has he's been able to he actually worked at the church. He worked at the church, and because he loves the church and it's a big part of his life, And in fact, also kudos to Chris. He went back to Ukraine, did some volunteer work. He's doing what he wants to do. That's the other thing with real estate. You can have goals, aspirations to make tens of millions, or hundreds of millions, or maybe you just want to make a few million, and just it doesn't take that much to really alter your lifetime and to be able to what you want to alter your life where you can do what you want to do. A couple $1,000,000, some people can live on that. I can't, but some people can, and you can decide how much is enough for you, or enjoy it along the way. You don't have to bust your ass and be super assertive and work your ass off. That's what I did. I worked really, really hard, very assertive, very aggressive, but that's why I was able to do so many deals. And I say so many deals, I've done like 200, roughly 200 deals. I can't count them exactly. Roughly 200 deals over 40 years. That's only 5 deals a year. It's not that many, And then when I say deals, I'm talking about profitable transactions. In fact, where me and Chris can help me work on the set. It's funny. I have I'm making a set where it's really basically little remnants from property stuff I found in the attics or nailed to a fence, or different things that I've taken from the properties over the years, that little treasures that I'd hang on to for whatever reason. And one of them, interesting enough, it's a no trespassing sign, and it's bullet written. And I remember when I pulled it off the fence on this 80 acres that I bought. It's also the only piece of property that I ever lost money on. I paid $320,000 for it, $100,000 down. Bought it with a buddy, and it wasn't long before we realized this was a mistake, and we ended up deeding it back to the person that we bought it from. Wasn't going to play any games, wasn't going to try to hold it, just said, here, we screwed up, here you go, handed it back, lost $100,000, actually lost a tiny bit more than that, but again, it was a great lesson. It's the only property I ever lost on, and I'd already made, at that point in my life, I'm trying to think about when I did that, I had probably already made about $1 million already at that point, and but you know what? I stepped on it right when the economy got pulled out again. Tough times happened, and and let me tell you, land is the first to go. And I did a little bit of yesterday on land. Land loses its value faster than anything. Listen, I've seen buildings sell for $300,000 that cost $2 million to build. In other words, that's how far below construction cost you can get a deal sometimes. In bad times, you get it for peanuts, far less than it would cost you to build. And what does that do to the land, right? Why buy a piece of land? Would you buy a piece of land? Would you buy a lot for $50,000? Even if it was previously worth $200,000, would you buy a lot for $50,000 to build a house when you can buy the same size lot next door with a house on it for far less than what the house would cost you to build. You follow me? The land is free. The land actually becomes free at that point because you're buying a piece of a building or a house for a fraction of what it would cost to build. And so it's like the land is free. It doesn't make sense to buy a piece of land. It doesn't make sense to build. It doesn't make sense to build when you can buy for under market. And that's what we're going to be seeing here. You're going to see a lot of incidences of it. And so you guys that are got some money put away, you know, I really have a great respect for people 30, 40, 50 years old. You know, anybody that saves, you know, if you've got the discipline to save tens of thousands of dollars from wages, let me tell you something, that is huge. You have got discipline and you've got an ability that most people don't have. It's that self-control. You know, it's just like, and I do too. You know, it's like right now, actually, I've been intermittent fasting, which I'll talk a little bit about that. Intermittent fasting. So I've been eating breakfast basically at 2 p.m. And my last meal, which is going to be within the next hour, which is going to include some wine. So I got to eat. I eat between 2 and 6. I've already lost 10 pounds. Feel better than ever. Gives your whole body a break. You know, I feel like you guys really, especially you guys are primarily my followers, right? I can be your crystal ball. Look, I'm 60 years old. I feel great. I'm a wealthy dude. I'm having fun, but I can be your crystal ball. I got a good buddy, and I'm gonna make this short. I got a good buddy named Trig. He's out there in Channel Islands, or actually he's in Santa Barbara now. He's got a beautiful home, overlooks Catalina. You know, it's just really beautiful. You know, it looks out that way. And I tell him, I said, Trig, you're my crystal ball. He used to own Wurtenberger Realty out there in Oxnard, you know, Ventura area. And because he's about 15 to 17 years older than me, and very similar lifestyle, very similar mindset, and I can see the things that are happening to him, I know will happen to me. The mistakes that he's made, he shares with me. The things that he encounters, he shares with me. And guess what? That's what I'm doing with you. I'm doing it with all of you on my investment expertise. That's huge, believe me. But I'm actually want to do it with health and everything else. I want to share with you guys, particularly, just the things that I've run into. And because you can see, it's the future. This is what's coming. It's what's coming. And if I can help you avoid, you know, some of the mistakes, and whether it be health or otherwise, you know what? That's what I want to do. Let me see. Somebody wrote in here. Hey, Russ. Russ is a great example as well. I mean, hey, Michael, glad you're here. Robert, too. All right. Ironworkers, Florida. Good evening. Thank you. You know, it's just a great camaraderie. We have a fantastic camaraderie in the group. And it's not all men. We got some cool women in there. Delia, one of my favorite. Christina in San Francisco. Tina. And some others. You know, it's not that many compared to the men, but you know what? And the Carpenters, Michael is in here right now, and Charisse, his wife, great team. You know, listen, if you got a wife that can be your partner, that's awesome. You know, even if you got a wife that just stays out of the way, that's wonderful, or vice versa. You know, the main thing is being able to make things happen. And not have, you know, there's nothing worse than having somebody negative kill your dreams or kill your joy, or, you know, or nag on your, you know, I mean, listen, I had a grandfather. He was so bitter. You know, he had a job as an ice packer on the trains. They used to pack the trains with ice. You know how they had to get water for steam engines? Well, they used to have ice on the railroad where they would stop and they would pack the vegetables, and then they'd run several hours and start to melt, and they'd pack it again. And he thought, yeah, this is the greatest job in the world. This is never going anywhere. I've got this, you know, tied up. And then of course refrigeration came along. Boom, blew him right out of the water. You know, it made for a bitter experience. And again, talk about blowing it. My grandfather had a beautiful house. I mean, anybody that lives in Covina, California, you probably know this property. It was next to a 7-Eleven, still there. Gorgeous Victorian kind of style home. I remember it as a kid. It had an enormous porch on a busy street. I can't remember the street. It had 2 porches. No, big porch in the front, wrapped on the back, had a basement, beautiful wood floors. You'd go upstairs, and, you know, big massive rooms upstairs. And you know what? He sold that house for $25,000. This thing's probably worth $1.5 million now, or $2 million now. He sold it at the at the exact wrong time. You know, so you talk about a guy that's bitter. And I mean, that probably threw him off the deep end. He sold his house for 25 grand and moved to New Mexico and bought a place there that probably didn't go up for 10 years. And, it was a huge mistake. And those are the kinds of mistakes that I want to help anybody, prevent anybody from making. I think more deeply on it. I saw my folks get ripped off for 20 grand. My dad was a great guy, smart guy, nice guy, but a gullible guy. And he got taken by a shyster for $20,000. That was a lot of money to him and his wife. And in fact, it was called Encino Elite. If you know anybody associated with Encino Elite, now this goes back about 30, 40 years ago. I'd sure like to say, I'd still pissed off it. I want to know who those guys were. Encino Elite. That was a car wash scam. So I'd love to hear about it. If you guys can give me a tip, I'd love to find those guys today if they're still alive. But again, so anyways, so look, hey, if you just got here, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, but number one, hit that subscribe button, get some skills, get my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate, if you're interested in real estate. If you're not interested in real estate, don't bother. But if you want to take it a step further, if you want to, create generational wealth and have a greater real estate empire, I mean, I know everybody wants to create real estate, generational wealth, but I'm saying, if you want to do it with real estate, you found the right place. Anyways, fantastic stuff to share with you guys. Like I say, interview with Mike, interview with Rich, interview with Herb coming up. I can't even keep up with the testimonials, to be quite honest. But you're going to see them eventually. And so we'll see you all later. And thanks for watching. See ya.